Alrighty then, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Rick the Wrestling Dad and his boys. I am joined by my boys, Mr. SGD Smooth Drew Ethertone.
Never mind. I'm not going to say that.
Well,
keep going.
And sitting next to him is none other than Jeff, the body, the pride of Stockwell Street and Maxey Elementary.
Morley
Elementary School. The Morley Mustang himself, Rutledge.
We're actually the Meadowlarks, Morley Meadowlarks.
A Meadowlark? What is that?
It's the state bird. So, if you
you know
get the heck out of here.
Bird is...
no wonder I got it confused. I was a Mustang in elementary school. So he was a Meadowlark. I was a Mustang.
Yep.
Wow. Some things never change, I guess.
Yeah.
Some people like to be cultured and have intelligence, and some people just rely on,
on being wild stallions.
There have been lots of chicks trying to wrestle this old stallion.
What?
But now they just have to let me roam free.
Oh.
Chris Farley, guys. I don't know. Watch a YouTube video every now and then. Jeez.
Here's the deal.
R.I.P. I don't know. Yeah. Whatever that is.
Here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to throw a crossface from left field and wrap them up in your bundles.
I love the bundles.
We should... How many different names...
I think my favorite is the bundles.
What move? So we talked about this.
The bundle sounds like a disease kids used to get back in like the 1800s that they would die, like 80% rate of death. Like, oh, my kid got the bundles again.
Okay, that wasn't that funny.
Again. You got it again.
Well, another kid got the bundles.
80% rate of death, and he's got it twice.
Yeah, he got it twice.
Oh my gosh. All right. I'm sorry for the robust laughter that evoked from me. That was probably unnecessary, but I enjoyed it. Drew, you know what? I am the easiest laugh this side of the Missouri.
He really is.
Only second to the guy across the table from me. The easiest laugh both east and west of the Missouri, Jeff Rutledge. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, here's the deal. Coach Rutledge, do you want to talk a little bit about what we're going to be casting about tonight, or should we go sponsorships first? Well, I'm going to give you first dibs. What do you want?
I think sponsorships are an important thing to begin at the beginning of the podcast.
So, in other words, you like to back cleanup, is what you're saying?
Cleanup.
We bring in the scrub at the start, get him on base, and then you come in strong.
Okay, that's not how baseball works.
Okay. Oh, I thought that's what. Isn't the best guy always goes like fourth or something?
Rick literally knows nothing about any sport besides wrestling.
He was actually on our softball team.
Quiz me. Ask me anything.
Okay.
What happens when you, at a kickoff in football, if it goes out of the end zone? The ball goes out of the end zone.
Touchback, duh.
Yeah, I had to tell you that after you were already coaching high school football.
False.
That is very true.
He also played on our summer softball team and didn't know when to run the bases, run forward, like if it was a pop fly and the defense caught the ball.
Okay.
The outfielders caught the ball.
Baseball is confusing. You don't know, sometimes you don't know, is he going to catch it? Is he not going to catch it? Can I lead off? Can I not lead off? I got to sprint it. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, that's
pretty
obvious.
easy. Yeah, it's pretty easy.
That's obvious you don't know what to do.
You got to admit that's kind of a complicated sport.
Not really.
No. I mean, if you're playing T-ball and you're 4. I get that.
Which, that's about the equivalent of my baseball / any sort of field sport experience.
That's true.
Okay. Well,
all right, at least that's all we cared about. You admitted it.
Admit to it.
You admitted it, and now we can move on.
All right, let's move on then.
You have the IQ of a T-ball player.
SGD, tell us about our sponsors.
All right.
On
Well,
the podcast.
we've been having outpouring support. Just a lot of these deals have just been running, coming in hot. I don't know what it is. Coming in hot.
Coming in hot.
And we luckily were contacted by First Alert, which I believe fire
/ smoke detector.
Smoke detectors. So you're gonna definitely need to pick up one of these First Alert smoke detectors when you listen to this podcast, because it's heat and it's fire.
So
this will go off whenever you listen to the podcast. So I recommend using headphones. when you get your first alert, smoke detector. And it has a test and a silence button. And I recommend just keeping it right in hand's reach of any child in case it goes off, because then you got to like bat it out of the sky. It happened to me once and I just broke it because I can't reach to shut it off when I'm cooking bacon. So first alert, great smoke detectors. Make sure you have that as safety for when listening to this podcast.
Well,
Thanks,
what?
First Alert.
Thank you, First Alert, for sponsoring this podcast. And then, speaking of that, the winner of the best comment about Jeff this episode, gets this lighter that I found.
Wait a minute. My wife lights her candles with that.
Yeah, well, so...
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
We actually saw Shelly
So
Turner
actually,
tonight.
Jasmine, your wife, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
No, Rhonda.
That is- yeah,
Rhonda, okay,
uh-huh.
Rhonda, your wife.
Uh-huh.
Hopefully she's the best comment about Jeff on this podcast.
Well,
and then she can
she
keep her
probably
lighter.
will be.
So
She might
that is,
be.
I will, if you DM me on Instagram, Deatherton, you should figure that out. I'll ship that to you. So best comment
Wow.
about Jeff.
Hey, one thing.
And
I'll-
Best
again,
comment
thanks-
about Jeff.
Thanks
It should-
again. First Alert, smoke detectors.
It really shouldn't take much. There's so many areas to attack. You can go with the shape of his hair as it extrudes from his head. You
Yep.
can go with the size of his neck, his old man hands. There's just a lot of material
Yes,
there.
there is.
What's wrong with
mostly
the size
physical.
of my neck.
I don't know. I just like
It's
to.
very
I like,
chicken-esque.
well, I don't
Less
know. That
chicken-
bow
less
tie.
chicken
Let's
than
just
it
say
used
I
to
don't
be.
think that bow tie has any smaller notches on it, and it's still sagging.
Yeah.
You're messed
That's
up.
all right. Hey,
I'm
small
just
neck,
kidding.
that's a good
You have
thing.
a very proportional neck to
No,
head size.
No, that's all right. I can deal with it.
So, Coach Rupp, what are we
Yes.
going to be talking about tonight?
Guys, Yianni versus Zain is happening in a matter of Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 4 days. I had to go through it. I should have prepped
it's
it a
happening
little
on
bit.
Labor Day, everyone.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That calls for building
and
anticipation.
Timmy, your time test is over.
It's called building anticipation. All right, buddy. Yeah. So we're gonna talk about Yianni and Zain. We're gonna talk about their history in the past few months, and then let's get some predictions on who's gonna win Yianni versus Zain.
Let's go.
And then maybe that's gonna lead into a little bit of conversation about USA wrestlers competing for other countries.
Yep.
And we'll just see where the night leads
We'll
us.
see where the night takes us after that.
Yeah.
So, give us a quick update on. I think last podcast we talked. As far as I remember, last podcast we actually didn't know the results of the arbitration at that point.
No, we did.
We did?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We did know the results of the arbitration. Maybe we didn't know the wrestle-off time and place. Is that correct?
No, we did.
We did?
Yeah.
Wow.
We
Memorial
talked
Day?
about this.
Oh, my
Yeah,
gosh.
Memorial
wow.
Day, September 2nd. It's happening 2 p.m.
Pull up the struggle bus for me.
It's happening in Pennsylvania, and it is going to be lights out. All right. I went through today and I watched all 4 matches, and I am so
You went
excited.
hardcore on it.
Oh yeah. I am so excited about this match. These guys are straight gunslingers, and it is going to be wild. So I wanted to kind of go through match by match.
This is what wrestling was meant to be right here.
Oh my gosh, it is. It is so true that this is like the purest of pure wrestling. Like these guys just let it fly, and it is awesome. I think Zain Rutherford might be one. I might say he might be. I might say he's my favorite wrestler.
He's
Really?
He is. This is the thing
He's
about
a
Zain
goer.
Rutherford. After going back and looking at these,
Big Penn State
big
guy.
Penn, old Penn State Rutledge over here.
I guess you can call me that now. No, Zain is. The thing I like most about Zain is he is stoic. So much poise in all of his matches. There's never a reaction in any like good or bad. His face is the same throughout his entire competition, and he is just coming at you and doing everything he possibly can. I mean, he's just a stinking spark plug out there on the
Dude,
mat.
he's a spark plug.
I freaking
He's like you.
love
He's your
Zain
clone.
Rutherford.
That
and
should be
how
his
he
nickname.
flies.
According to my father, Kale said in an interview once, I didn't hear the actual interview for myself, but Kale once said in an interview that he's the toughest man that he's ever coached. That's a bold statement.
I would believe it, and he might not be the best skilled. Like I would venture to say Jason Nolf is more skilled and has more natural wrestling ability, But Zain Rutherford makes up for it with his like workman-like attitude and his ability to reset and to move forward. And I think that is going to be pretty big in this upcoming series here. So I want to go through.
Okay,
and then
go through and then we'll make predictions.
All right,
go through.
Because this is fascinating. The changes that both wrestlers made. These guys' wrestling IQ is through the roof. So there was throughout this 5-match series, there has been, strategy changes left and right. So the first one was kind of like introduction, right? It was a 6-4 win for Yianni at the U.S. Open. Zain was rather reserved in the first period. He actually didn't take one shot, and it seemed like Zain's strategy at first was wear on the head, make him tired, get in his face. You got like hand fight really hard with him, but the problem was Yianni that gave Yianni his elbow control, and that's where Yanni's really good at is elbow pulls. So Yianni was having a lot of success with elbow pulls and control ties. Zain got a little bit more offensive in the second period and scored on some shots, but ultimately Yianni scored defensively in that match as well and won 6-4 at the U.S. Open. That was kind of Yanni's come out party. He beat Frank Molinaro, he beat Jordan Oliver. And then Zain, it was just like, dude, this dude's for real. So all the momentum in the world going for Yianni. Match 2 at Final X Rutgers. And, dude, Zain shows up to wrestle. Game plan changes completely. So instead of hand fighting, he's moving. His feet are moving side to side laterally. He's doing these little head pops. Okay, he's on the head, but he moves off the head. He doesn't grab the head so that Zain can get elbow control. He's moving off the head. He's going side to side. It was just it basically phenomenal game planning. Like we talked about game planning that Dake had on Derringer. Zain did the same thing. And I think his coaches, I think a lot of people say that these coaches are some of the very best that can put a game plan together, and I think Final X, it really showed Zain had game planned this match, and it really paid off. But there was a takedown to a lace that really kind of blew the match open in the first match at Final X, and it ended up being a 10-4, fairly dominant win for Zain. There was a desperation attempt at the end, so it was closer than a 10-4 score, but that was the final score in the first match. The second match is the one that was no contest now, so they went back initially.
So you watched that just recently?
I did, yeah.
Break down that last. Well, I'm sure you're getting there, but break down that last sequence.
So essentially, I believe the score was 4-2. Essentially, he was up by 2. So Yianni was up by 2. They get into a scramble and they go 2-2. So Zain has been getting. Where Zain has been scoring points is when he gets to his high C and is able to split the middle. Mm-hmm. So he's able to kind of shelf the foot, and they were kind of in that position, and Yianni was just about to expose, and all of a sudden Yianni changes direction and rolls him across his back. So they scored it 2-2. Then 50 seconds go by. There was some more scrambling. I mean, they were just going back and forth. For them not to expose in some of these exchanges was just incredible. But eventually, no score after the 2-2. Kale throws the block. And initially, they're thinking, okay, they're challenging an exposure point at the very end of the match. But they said, no, we're challenging 50 seconds ago. And so they ended up reversing the call and making it 2-0 Zain. So Zain would then win on the criteria. So because of last point scored.
Okay.
So
interesting.
So anyway, so then arbitration comes into play, and the rules say that it's 5 seconds, that you have to throw the block in the 5 seconds. So that's why that match is a no contest. But Yianni did score some points from defense, and if Zain is able to get over top of you and get ankles, you're in trouble. But if Zain's able to get him on his butt, that's where he's scoring points. He's split in the middle and he's having success. It's not easy. Yianni is a straight wizard in all defensive positions, but that's where Yianni seems to be getting the most of his takedowns. So then, right, there's arbitration going on. U.S. sends both guys to the Yazardogu, and Yianni and Zain are pulled to wrestle in the very first round, and it was a 9-5 win for Yianni. Yianni opens up with he starts to get to this Carl Perry shot. I think the change that happened was Yianni started to realize, I need to shoot. I've got to find more ways to score than just for my defense. And so he starts to shoot a little bit. But the big difference maker was every time Zain faked, there was some type of a reshot coming back from Yianni.
Mm-hmm.
And that was where he scored 2 of his takedowns, and that really opened up the match. And then the nail in the coffin was Zain was scooting around behind, and this was to tie the match, I believe. And Yianni got height. He got up to his feet. He hooked an elbow. He hit a cartwhip and got a 4-point move.
Just basically did like a forward roll. Like,
and that's
just
yeah. And that's actually where Zain ended up hurting his knee. But Yianni, so Zain defaulted out of the tournament. Yianni went on to win the tournament. But Yianni gave up like a silly takedown at the very end. So it was a 9-5 win for Yianni. So back and forth strategies wise, I mean, guys are making adjustments back and forth. And I just thought it was pretty fascinating to see Zain's, change from make this guy tired to all of a sudden. And Zain said it after the match. He said, I need to have more risk. I have to take more risks. And
Yep.
when you do that, when you get on Yanni's legs, you give him an opportunity to score because that's where he's good from.
Gosh, that is the problem.
But you have to do it. You have to do it.
It's just, it is so hard when you're wrestling a wrestler that is almost as good in the, like, basically the crotch lock position where, Zain's head outside and Yianni can start to kind of sit the corner. It almost feels like Yianni is almost dang near as good in the crotch lock position as he is with just a traditional normal sprawl, and he's got you crushed with his hips. He can score, there is the problem.
I noticed that, we did a technique called straight leg defense when a guy has a low single. He's doing it, he's straightening his legs out in any position.
Yeah.
Like high C's, sweep singles, he's trying to find it. He's getting his legs long, and he's finding ankles, and then once he gets your ankles, that's where he's winning
Well,
scrambles.
I saw a clip. I don't know if you guys saw that clip of Yianni wrestling Dayton Fix. It was like
It's Super 32.
it was
final.
Super 32, and so it was crazy because Fix is in on a shot. He I can't remember exactly how it happened now, but I think he ducked Yanni's leg or something. And Yianni he's got these insanely flexible hamstrings. He just straightens his leg out completely and leans into his own leg and knee, and it just put all the pressure into Fix, and he just crumpled Fix. And because he has these insanely flexible hamstrings, so he can just go straight leg at any moment and lean into it and change the pressure of where his body is pressuring toward.
And it's such a different feel
crazy.
than anyone is able to give you. So he's just a straight wizard. So,
Dang.
So with all of that, here we go. It is match number 6.
Oh my gosh.
And now
Gosh, that is crazy.
we've got to make a prediction here. So Zain has to win 1 match in order to be on the world team, and Yianni needs to win 2 matches for him to make the world team. What is your prediction?
They should make him sign
Crazy.
a contract where no matter what happens first match, they have to wrestle a second. Just because it's that
just
entertaining.
because it's that fun.
Dude, what if...
That's why I felt so cheated.
Here's the thing: is Yianni would do it if Zain beat him. He'd be like, "Yeah, I'll wrestle another one."
Yeah.
He's like, I know I'm not making the world team, but I'll still do it."
What if Zain goes out there and pins him in 10 seconds?
Oh my
Or
gosh!
texts him in 10 seconds?
Yeah,
And,
then
all
the
of those
tickets-
people were like, we were literally in here for a minute.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do they have any other matches going that day? I just
No.
pulled up the website.
That's it.
I wish they it's kind of
You know
weird
they
because
don't
they
get some good high school kids
that's
to just
exactly
come
what I was
in.
thinking for Dakin Ringer. I was like, why don't you just pull together some premier high school matchups?
Yeah.
Just pull some stud high school wrestlers from the area and have them wrestle each other.
Yeah, or get Bo Nickel there. He's probably already want to go back. Or wait, no, this isn't in Texas. Wow, I don't know why I was thinking.
Well, you were thinking Dake Ringer.
Yeah, that one was in Texas. Get Bo Nickel and I don't know, someone else. I don't know.
Yeah, it would be cool if they just
Bring up Austin Trotman.
put a couple fun matches
get
in
that
there.
Beach World team up there.
Yeah.
Beach World team member.
Yeah.
Throw
up
out
there.
some sand on the mat.
Yeah, he's probably not in shape though. Well, he's in decent.
All
enough
right,
shape.
don't you
He's not
say
in-
that about our
he's
world
not
team
in-
member.
He's not in. As good. I think he would confirm that with me.
No, he would
Maybe not.
I think he would.
All right, so gosh.
So predictions. Let's go.
Okay, here we go.
guys.
Here's
What
the
do you
deal.
got?
Here's what's weird about this. This is the weirdest wrestling series matchup rivalry to predict, because I keep feeling, I don't know why I keep having this feeling, but I just keep like, and I think I'm on the same boat as you, Rudd. It's like I just love the way Zayn wrestles, like his intensity, his just tenacity. It's just like you have a hard time betting against a guy that constantly is going to wrestle like a maniac for 6 minutes no matter what. Like that's kind of like Kyle Snyder. It's like I just can't bet against Kyle Snyder because I know he's going to wrestle as hard as he possibly can for 6 minutes no matter what. It's hard because I guess maybe at the end of the day I just need to own up to the fact that Yianni is maybe just a better wrestler is the thing. He's better in wrestling positions and holds, and he's just a better pure wrestler. But I keep having this feeling that Zayn's gonna win, and I'm like, and then he did. Like I was thinking Zayn was gonna win Final X.
You did?
Yeah, I don't remember.
After he lost in the U.S. Open.
Yeah, I don't remember if I ever officially said that or not. I probably should have stated that on the podcast, but I was having that gut feeling. I was just like, man, I think Zayn. I think he kind of had a bad match in the U.S. Open, and I think he's gonna do it. And then now after the Yasser Dogu, I was like, geez, I guess I don't know. I'll say this. After Yianni made the Zayn beat him pretty soundly in the first match. Yianni makes the adjustment. Should have pretty much won the second match, probably. More than likely should have won the second match. I mean, because obviously the reason they overturned it wasn't necessarily because of the scoring. It was more because of the procedural mishap. However, I think if you rescore that match, I think Yianni wins it probably. But, so, should have won the second match. Then Yasser Dogu beats him, pretty decently soundly, and beats a bunch of other really good guys, and beats Bajrang in the midst of all that.
That was before Final X.
That was way before Final X. But it's just like, dang, at some point, I guess I'm just I kind of need to face up to the music that, like, maybe Yanni's just a better wrestler. And I feel like that's kind of the feeling of the general public, but I just kind of have this little twinge.
So you need to
just
say something that when you're done, we can say,
quit
yeah,
riding
you
the
picked that person,
fence,
you didn't.
bro.
Gun to my head, I'm going to... Well, here's the problem.
Oh, geez.
Here's the problem. Hold on.
You would be terrible on College Game Day.
Moment to talk.
Let's let him do it after the match. He can decide after the match is over he thinks is
I'll bet I get it right.
We get it. You like both of them.
I bet I'll get it right. I'm struggling with this a lot. I would... Simply because Zayn only has to win one match, I'm going Zayn.
Wow.
Sure.
I think
you said it.
Wow.
Yeah.
You said it.
I think that's a massive advantage to only have to win one of the two matches.
It could be, but it could also make him not wrestle as hard the first one. Who knows? I don't know. I don't think that'd be the case, but
I might go ahead and say that Christian Swift might have the best comment here. He writes in, please pick Zayn since you guys are usually wrong.
Oh.
Christian and I have a long history of predicting matches, and
hey,
here's the deal.
Swift, say something bad about Rutledge real quick.
Typically, when Swift
win the lighter,
asks me my opinion on a match, and I tell him I'm usually wrong. Hence, like David Taylor, Kyle Dake, every single time they wrestle, I picked David Taylor. And there's been a few other ones in there as well. So, I mean, I'm thinking Christian Swift wins the, what is it, the lighter?
Yep.
Yeah.
Wins the lighter.
I guess what I was saying was my heart kind of feels like Zayn.
Oh my gosh, you're done. You already said what you're doing.
My heart feels like Zayn. My head feels like Yianni, but I'm going to actually go with my heart on this one because of the statistical.
Also a Penn State guy.
Because of the statistical.
Big Penn State guy.
No.
He's big Penn State guy.
He's the big Penn State guy. But statistically, I just feel like, I guess I don't know, there probably are no statistics on this, but it's just like that one match, only having to win one out of two matches has got to be a big advantage, right?
I'm shocked that you picked Zayn.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm going to go Yianni. I think he's just better. I don't really care who wins. I just want to watch him, but I think Yanni's just the better wrestler. It is harder to win too, obviously, but I still gonna go Yianni. He looked pretty dominant in the Dogu, and I'm like, I just don't see Yianni. I don't see how you can figure Yianni out. I think Yanni's gonna win, and then he's gonna go on and win the World Championships. Like, I mean, unless people can figure out whatever it is he's doing, he's already beat the returning world champ, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know if he was returning, but I knew he was world champ.
I would
No,
tend to agree.
Bajrang wasn't a world champ. Is that who you're talking about?
Bajrang was world champ, wasn't he?
No, he was silver.
He's ranked number 1 in the world.
He's ranked number 1 in the world. He was silver last
You-
year.
Okay, I'll look that up.
Look it up.
You look it up.
Rutledge, you go.
All right, since Keenan took 10 minutes to talk about his reasoning, I'm going to go through a little of my... I totally, at Final X, I was rooting for Yianni because I think Yianni will do better on the international scene. I think Yianni has proven himself where Zain, with beating Bajrang.
That was massive.
And that's where I don't believe you when you said that you picked Zain to win Final X. I think you just made that up right now.
Well, we might be able to go back and look. I don't
would love
know.
to do that.
Yeah.
Bajrang
That might be another-
bronze when he
another
was
rank.
I'll say this.
19.
I'll say this. I truly don't remember.
Okay. Whew,
I-
good. At least we're honest.
I very well could have picked Yianni. I don't really remember. I think what I'm getting at more is I kind of have this thing. I'm like, I kind of like want Zayn to win for some reason. I don't even really know why, because I love the way Yianni wrestles. But I don't know. I don't freaking know.
All right, let me finish.
Go
Can
ahead.
I finish?
It's on you.
All right, thank you. So I was definitely rooting for Yianni. I was furious when the match didn't go to 3. I rewatched these matches, and I'm like, the whole time I'm thinking, we want Yianni. I'm gonna root for Yianni. And dude, Zain Rutherford, his intensity.
He won you over.
Dude, the guy is
Big
a
Penn
hammer.
State guy.
No, I'm a Zain Rutherford guy. Let that
Yeah.
be known.
Big Penn State.
Okay,
Yeah, we're both
Now,
Zain Rutherford guys.
I think this is something that neither one of you talked about that is really important. All of the momentum, and this happens in sports. Momentum is a real thing, and the fact that Zain Rutherford has won the spot, and then all of a sudden he was told, "Wait, we're gonna go through arbitration. We don't know whether you did win the spot or not." You're hanging on a cliff where most people would be. This is, he lost at the Yasser Dogu, and I think maybe that has part of the reasoning of why he didn't perform maybe quite as good, although that match was very close, even though the score didn't show it. He was literally getting around for a takedown to take the lead in the match when he got up and did a little cartwheel thing. But I think the reality that like everything right now is stacked in Yianni's favor. I think in a typical sporting scenario, in a typical athlete, I would go for Yianni because of, one, the momentum. I also think Yianni is a better wrestler. You already stated it. He has more ways that he can beat you. He can beat you with his defense. He can beat you with his offense. Okay? Zayn can beat you with his incredible high pace and his ability to get to your legs. And that happens to be a strong suit of Yianni. That Yianni can score when you get to his legs. But this is why I believe Zain Rutherford is going to win the match, is because of his incredible discipline and his focus and drive. One, I believe he's got the purpose of why he's wrestling is not just, to win. I think he genuinely enjoys the sport, and his poise that he has, he's never flustered. And I think that throughout this process, he's going to learn and grow from it. And I actually think it's the opposite. I think Yianni is going to have a little bit of pressure because he's had all of this time to think about it and arbitration and hope. And all of a sudden, yes, I get my chance. But think of the pressure that's on Yianni's shoulders right now. How many people were invested from Cornell, all the lawyers and everything, to make this work? And, there's little margins of error here. And I think Zayn, because of who he is and the way that he competes, is going to, and I would say his coaches and his ability to game plan, I think they're going to make adjustments from the Yasser Dogu, and Zain Rutherford is going to win the very first match.
Wow. The two Penn State guys picked the Penn State guy. That's weird.
And I think we are in the very, very minority.
That's what I was just going to say.
I think the majority of people are going to be picking Yianni. And I do think Yianni probably is our best pick as far as being able to be successful. I think I will say typically in the past, like when Coleman Scott and Sean Bunch wrestled, and that was an extended wrestle off, and it was really kind of a pain for both of them. And then Coleman Scott got the bronze. I think both guys are going to be medalists. I think Yianni's got a chance to be a finalist or to be a champ. But I think whoever comes out on top is going to be a world medalist.
I forgot what happened with that Coleman Scott Sean Bunch thing. Why was that a late wrestle off? Does anybody, you guys remember at all?
Totally
I don't remember. I was just gonna say that exact same thing to second your point about Yianni being the one with the pressure on his shoulders right now. I think the general public right now is expecting Yianni to win.
Yeah.
Especially, just because, and just simple, which...
Well, a lot of people think that he's won 3 of the 4 and wrestled, in their opinion.
And he's won the most 2 recent. So he's won the most 2 recent matches. In most people's opinion, them giving him the second match of Final X. And so I think most people are. I definitely think the general public is Team Yianni right now. I don't know. I don't know. Here, I will say this. Hey,
you already did your rant on that. You don't know.
Okay. I'll say this. One thing on us being Team Zain. Coach Rutt, one thing you did point out that you do so well in pointing out my inconsistencies. When I was a huge Zain guy when he was in college, just loved the way he wrestled. He did, however, he wrestled way more like an Iowa guy than
big Iowa
than anything else, really. He was kind of borderline. He was a borderline bully.
He did this to Yianni that just drives him crazy, and he'll continue to do it. He pulls on his head and pops his head.
Yeah.
And Zain was always in the face in college, but now he's doing a pretty good job of staying on top of the head, and then he clubs, and then and Yianni will visibly get upset and angry. He's like, but Zain just went boom, 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 and just goes back to it because he knows it pisses him off so much, and he just. And there's no
that goes
facial
to
expression
show how much of a professional Yianni is too, because he can still perform at such an insanely high level while he is. I don't know what he. Yeah.
Well, it can't be good that he's upset about it though.
No, it's not good. It's not good. But I guess all I'm saying is it's amazing that he's still able to win while Zain is getting him off of his mental focus.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. It's not a good thing for him to lose his focus, but that's crazy. All right, what do we got? What do we got up, Rut?
Oh, hey, one thing. The reason why Coleman Scott had that wrestle off was because we had to qualify the weight.
Oh, yep.
That's why.
Yep. So one of them had to go.
So one of them had to go qualify, while the other.
I think Bunch qualified it, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
Because Bunch was because Bunch was the returning world team member, so I think they had him go qualify it, and then I don't know. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly.
But.
So yeah, okay. Which all this talk about Zain and Yianni got me thinking about.
I think Labuda wins the. The lighter.
Yeah.
Hey Labuda, go to sleep, buddy. All right.
Brett Labuda said, "Let's be honest. Jeff is only picking Zain because he's coached by the best American wrestler."
And that is
I detected a hint of sarcasm in that
100%,
statement.
That's not sarcasm. Brett agrees with me.
Oh my goodness!
As does everybody that eats Wheaties because
Labuda,
he's got
I
a
love
Wheaties
it.
box. Okay. So this brings me to my next point. Zain is a freaking hammer, and he is going to be either the best or second best guy in the United States. He was dominated by a foe by the name of Aaron Pico.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Aaron Pico got second at the Olympic trials in 2016. He lost to Frank Molinaro, I believe, in the finals in an absolute just bloodbath.
Yep.
And that weight was absolutely stacked.
Yeah.
After that 2016 loss, he went into MMA and was kind of the rising star in MMA, or supposed to be the biggest, prodigy, and was signed by Bellator. I'd like to talk a little bit about his MMA career a little bit. And
got choked out and then got knocked out and then just lost again.
He was a guy that had boxing, right, striking experience, was an Olympic gold medalist. I mean, if I had to bet, I would have bet on him to be a UFC champion within 5 years. I mean, the guy was...
Because he was a Golden Gloves champ, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's lost his last 2.
And not good ways.
Well,
like
he's been
knocked
finished.
out, right?
Yeah. I mean, no fight he's ever had has gone the distance.
So, man, which makes me think, do you guys think Aaron Pico made a mistake dropping out, going to fighting?
No.
Yeah, I mean,
no.
yes, but that's just purely because I love wrestling, and I want the best wrestlers to wrestle.
I'm gonna say no because he's getting paid more, and he maybe not quite right now, but
I mean, it'd be interesting to know.
He can make way more money in MMA and do it. I would say probably longer, or at least make more money in the same amount of time.
It'd be interesting to know. I bet Jordan Burroughs has made more money.
Yes.
Now, but
Okay,
hold on.
that's
But
like
no. Well, here's the thing, though. Aaron Pico, by every stretch of the imagination, is. I mean, he was 18 when he made the Olympic trials finals.
He's 22 still. So
Yeah.
it's like he's got a long time to fight and potentially come back and wrestle if he wants.
Well, but that's the
He
problem
could
is you can make the argument that he's already gotten himself out of the wrestling game to where that hurts you to not wrestle solid for.
Well, don't wrestle college. Hurt.
Oh, that's funny because you were saying that Kale should have won it because he took 7 years off. He should have just been able to come back and be really good. But again, another argument, I guess, that doesn't...
Well, Kale also didn't take 7 years off. I'm pretty sure he was in the wrestling room the whole time.
Sorry, man.
Pretty sure he was probably wrestling live with Jake Varner like every day.
Didn't compete.
Aaron
Not
Pico,
the same. Did not
Aaron
train.
Pico,
Never went through a training. Pico maybe is better off than Kale did because he's been through training cycles.
Did you know Aaron Pico is a direct descendant of Pico de Jesus Pico, the last Mexican governor of California when California was under the provincial providence of Mexico?
You are telling me that spending 33% of your time, spending 33.
Guess no one cared about
you
that.
He's heated about this right now.
You're telling me
he's
that
wrong.
spending 33% of your time kickboxing, and let's just hypothetically say 33% of your time doing jiu-jitsu, and maybe 33% of your time wrestling, even though realistically probably not 33% of your time wrestling because that's your specialty. You're probably spending 10 to 15% of your time wrestling so you can focus on your other areas of weakness. You're telling me that is the equivalent of being in a college wrestling room every day and training with collegiate and international athletes but not competing.
The reality is we don't know because we don't know how much Pico... What? Can I finish?
Talk some sense into him.
Can I finish? We don't know how much Pico has trained wrestling. We don't know how much Kale trained wrestling. We don't know whether Kale really did tons of live wrestling. You're speculating that he did lots of live wrestling.
Okay. Is it safe to make an assumption? Can we speculate? You're right, we don't know. Can we speculate that Kale probably did more wrestling or has done more wrestling than Pico?
I would say it's probably very similar.
There's not enough time in the day. What do you think?
I feel very strongly both ways.
So do you think Pico does as much wrestling as Kale?
No. Kale now or Kale then?
Either.
I doubt Kale wrestles.
He wrestles
all the time.
Apparently, he still wrestles a lot right now.
You don't know that.
Yeah, that's what the Flow guy said. Willie
Okay.
Saylor talked to him. Penn State Willie talked to him.
Oh, okay.
So
Never mind then. You're right. You're right.
Well, okay. I mean, am I though? Because I think I am.
You're right.
I feel very strongly both ways, guys. I think Aaron
Okay,
Pico should have fought because
so
there's more
you're
money
just
in
saying
it.
you're saying because we're not there like in their gyms with them. You're saying that we should just not assume that Kale is wrestling more than Pico.
All we know, one is Kale did not compete for 7 years, and Pico did compete for 7 years.
I think Pico may be training more MMA wrestling.
You're avoiding the question. Do you think Kale or Pico wrestled more during Kale? Let's just say Kale during those 7 years.
Yes.
When he was off, versus Pico from the Olympic trials until now. Who do you think wrestled more?
Let me ask you, as a coach, when you are running practices, how often do you get a chance to wrestle?
I mean, as a high school coach, teaching kids a stance and learning how to shoot a double leg,
Might it be,
not a lot.
Might it be similar?
No, it's college to high school.
Somebody's got to be running the drills. Someone's got to be saying, all right, this is what we're doing next. This is the technique. Break it in, bring it in. Here we go. When you're in charge of something, you're doing something. The focus is completely in a different area. You're comparing somebody who is training and competing and getting their body ready to compete to a person who is in charge of doing that for others and organizing practices, and their focus is in a completely different arena. So you're not going to change my mind on this. And hey, maybe you're right. You could be right. I don't know. But the reality is I thought it was interesting because it's a fairly different or similar argument to what you were saying before.
Do I think that the 5 years off for Kale or 7 years off for Kale were worse than him? Okay, I'll give you this. I think if Kale would have just kept wrestling every year, yes, that would have been better for him being his maximum potential.
Oh, wow. I'm so glad that you surrendered that. That's like saying the sky is blue.
Well, I mean, that's what you're all mad at me for.
Well, that's obvious.
Well, that argument got heated, and next time something gets heated in your house, reach for First Alert smoke detectors. Sponsor this podcast. Instead of that annoying mirror, 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 whatever the normal sound is, it plays Celine Dion, and so it's a little nicer. So if you listen to a lot of Celine Dion, maybe it's not the best smoke detector for you, but if that's something that's new in your household and not a lot of Celine Dion's going on, reach for First Alert smoke detectors.
You know what Rick always says, first comes smoke, then comes fire.
Yep. You do great with that.
Yeah.
You do great with that.
Gotta pay the bills.
Well done.
Gotta keep the lights on.
I can't believe that you won't to at least admit that. Now, okay, I guess we're arguing like what's that called? Maybe we're just arguing details because
I don't know what we're arguing.
Well, what we're arguing is you tried to call me out for me saying that I think Kale still could have / should have won it when he made his comeback or whatever. Apparently, did I say that?
Yeah. What you were saying is that there was according to me saying that he was the greatest American wrestler, that he should have just come back and automatically won it.
Well, first of all, I need to go back and listen to that podcast because I don't think that's exactly what I said. I think my point was, like, hey, he wrestled and he took 5th place. So at some point, we got to acknowledge the accolades for what they are. Like, we've got, that's part of the reason why Bruce Baumgartner's not considered as the greatest. I mean, some people consider him as the greatest.
Yeah, well, he was in our conversation.
But part of the reason why a lot of people don't consider him as the greatest is just because he's got other color medals, even though it's kind of, I mean, I'll admit that that's maybe kind of unfortunate, but it's like most people consider Burroughs as better than Baumgartner because Burroughs is gold.
Bronze. Not plate,
DNP.
medal. DNP.
Yeah, but Baumgartner had
5th. But I'm just saying, if you're willing to accept a Jordan Burroughs 5th, why are you not willing to accept a Cael Sanderson 5th?
Well, because Burroughs also has 5 of the big ones next to his name.
Again, what we don't know what could have Cael have done in those years.
And that's kind of my point that I was trying to say. He just didn't do it.
And that was Drew's point when we had that conversation as well, is that Bruce Baumgartner did do it. And when you said John Smith is the best because he has these golds.
All golds.
And then Drew said, well, but Bruce did it. And you were saying, yeah, but so could have John Smith. We don't know. So your argument's changing again.
Well,
The only thing I took from that was it always comes back to me being right.
well, John Smith, I mean, but also 6 golds alone is enough. We don't have to say John Smith could have. I mean, what? So Bruce had 5 golds, right? So
I'd have to look it up again.
Yeah, I feel like
so Bruce had 5 golds in what, 15 years or whatever. John Smith had 6 golds in 6 years.
Yes,
So
but it was
that's
only 6 years.
so.
The argument was the longevity. What he was saying was that
5. He had 5 golds. Baumgartner did.
Yeah, 5 golds in
4 silvers, 4 bronze. Jeez, that's so many.
He definitely has to be in the combo. But
Jeez.
okay, we're getting way off track here. Going back to where we were originally, what we were arguing about, Rutt, is the fact that I'm just saying, like, yeah, I guess Cale taking that 7 years off hurt him, and so maybe he still should be considered as the best in the world, even though he only took 5th or whatever. I guess, I don't know. I don't really know where your point is on that. You're like, oh, he probably would have won for those 7 years. You're saying
we don't know.
You're saying
it aligns with your argument that we don't know.
So you're saying for those 7 years he took off, if he would have wrestled, he probably would have been like first, second, third, fifth.
We don't know.
Or whatever.
This does also come back to what we initially started.
Why are you saying you don't know? Because the reason you're saying that is because you think he's the best wrestler ever.
My argument for Cale to be the best was folk style. He's done something that nobody else has ever done. And then you were saying, well, but he's never done it on the world stage. He didn't do it on the world stage like these guys did. My point was, yeah, he did do it on the world stage. He was an Olympic gold medalist. And you said, well, he didn't do it long enough. And to that argument, I say, well, neither did John Smith.
So who did do it long enough then?
Bruce Baumgartner.
So if your argument is longevity, if you say Cale is not the best because he didn't do it as much as John Smith, then your argument is longevity, and then you should say Bruce Baumgartner is the best then. If your argument is who's the best American wrestler and your criteria is longevity,
No,
then it's
not if you
Bruce
take
Baumgartner.
years wrestled divided by placements. Then it's easily John Smith.
Jeez, I don't know how to do that math.
You take how many years they wrestled, you divide it by the. It's like golf. You divide it by the number that they.
Golf?
You take
no dividing in golf.
6. How many?
Well,
Let's say a gold medal's worth 1 point, a silver medal's worth 2 points, a bronze medal's worth 3 points.
Well, then Bruce Baumgartner's number 1.
So then why did you say?
No, John Smith is number 1.
No, because
he's
Bruce
old.
Baumgartner has only 1 less gold and 4 more silvers and 4
No.
more
John
bronze.
Smith has
No.
only gotten first as his point.
Yeah, I know.
But then you can't say
but then
you're
it's the same thing.
You're doing this, Keenan. Your arguments are like you're trying to find more arguments because initially you said I don't know. Jordan Burroughs could be the best. He eventually, when he's done, he could be the best. So it's another argument.
So, but then
that
you could
you're
put
making.
John Smith in the same
Yeah,
category.
he could. Yeah, Jordan Burroughs could be the best when he's done. What's wrong about saying that?
Because he's gotten 5th, so that would immediately pull him out of the conversation with John Smith, who's only gotten 1st.
Not if Burroughs has
But that would also then put someone if they just.
10 golds and then you do that math, then
But you can't really do
I
that
still
because
don't get that
because
math.
then John Smith's 100% and no one can beat 100%.
Okay, you're
It's like-
telling
it's-
me you
it's
need to do
essentially
what?
the
You need to
same
do
thing
what? Give
is-
me.
well,
me,
I guess
give me your math.
Well, what you're saying, what he's saying, and what the way I'm interpreting it is like it's the same thing as somebody whose career record is 30-0, and somebody else's career record is 180-2. It's
Yes.
like who's better? It's like
Yeah.
well, one guy was undefeated, but
that's exactly
way
yeah.
less. So that it's just it's going to come down to what do you value then?
I guess
Because then it's like you could win one
There
and
is-
be done.
there
Your
is-
first year going for the Worlds, you make the team, you win the World Championships, and then you retire and you're on the same level. You're at that 100% with John Smith.
you're right. You can't really do the math on
So you
that,
can't do
but
it that
Drew's
way.
getting to the heart of what I'm saying.
Yes, I know what you're saying, but I don't
get what you're saying.
I'm saying,
He's saying John Smith
the
was
reason
100%,
why I'm saying
and so that should weigh into something. But then it's like, well, yeah, but you could be 100%. You could be 1 for 1.
John Smith was 100% over 6 years. So
One
that's
guy
what
could-
I'm trying to
A
say.
guy could wrestle one college match, win, and be like, well, me and Cale had the same win percentage.
Yeah,
I was 1-0. He was 159-0.
exactly. That's the
So
point that I'm
that's-
making. That's
yes.
the simple point that
Which
I'm
is
trying to
that
make.
I don't. Yeah, it just kind of depends on what you value more, I guess. I don't know.
Because
I think this is
But
where
you
the
can't
argument
say
comes
you
in.
can't say
But this is-
I value longevity here and then I don't care about it here.
So Dan Gable minus the Larry Owings match had pretty much basically the exact same accolades as Cale
Okay,
Sanderson.
minus
The
losing
one
in
match.
the national finals his senior year.
Minus the one match, yeah.
Okay. Well,
So
So
do you
that match
think
still
Dan
happened,
Gable,
though.
so are you saying Dan Gable's better than Burroughs, better than
In college? Yes.
No, we're saying better.
Greatest American wrestler?
Yeah, greatest American wrestler ever.
Potentially.
Better than Burroughs, better than Baumgartner, better than John Smith. Like, that just seems crazy to me.
Why?
Those guys accomplished so much more on the higher level of wrestling.
We're just literally reverting back to like the
We're
fourth
just
episode
doing
of
the
this
same thing
podcast.
over and over again.
It's
Right,
just crazy.
well, it comes back to Pico, so let's pull this back to
It's
what we were
crazy.
talking about.
It's just crazy to me that people would put Dan Gable in the same category as John Smith, Jordan Burroughs, Bruce Baumgartner. That's just crazy.
Have you ever been to Iowa?
I'm why is that crazy? Why is Iowa so much better than Nebraska? Dan Gable. If you say wrestling, what do people say? Dan Gable.
You're talking about legacy. Yeah, Dan Gable's got the greatest. I'll give you that argument. Dan Gable might have the greatest wrestling legacy.
Then why is it ridiculous to put him with Jordan Burroughs and all these other people?
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe we need to define the term, define what we're talking about. When I'm saying greatest American wrestler, what I mean by that is the person who was literally the best on the mat at the sport. That's what I meant by that. You mean more of like a holistic, like, affected the sport the most? Then maybe I'll give you Kale.
Well, the reality is we don't. If somebody has attained absolute greatness in everything, and just because they didn't do it for how long you wanted them to do it, doesn't mean that they are automatically taken out of the criteria of the best to ever do it. You're kind of a guy that would want Andrew Luck to keep playing because he's good and he should have to keep playing.
Well, I don't think Andrew Luck should be considered in the greatest
wrestlers
quarterbacks of all time.
No. Well, what I'm saying is that you want more. You want more. They have to prove it over again and again.
No, I don't care. Andrew Luck can retire if he wants to, but if he wants to be considered as the greatest quarterback of all time, then yeah, he needs to keep playing.
Why?
Because he's not
But you just said what you care about is who was the best to do it.
Yeah.
Okay? So why can't the best? What if the best wrestler, 100% the best wrestler, wins a world championships, wins the Olympics, and says, I'm done? According to your criteria, they cannot be considered the best.
Well, that's where I think the argument that needs to be made there is at some point in time you have to try, and I know you're saying that like I'm going back on my own argument here, but at some point in time you have to try to use the facts that you have. And the facts that we have are that Kale wrestled in he wrestled in two world championships and an Olympics,
That
right?
was my point during that podcast. It's what you value the most. If you value longevity, then that is your American wrestler. But don't say that my answer is ridiculous if I believe that Cael Sanderson was the best because he dominated college wrestling and won an Olympic gold against the best competition.
That's the difference. I don't think I'm valuing longevity. I think I'm valuing statistics on a paper. Like, I'm not valuing longevity. I'm just valuing the fact that, I mean, Kale wrestled in two world championships and an Olympics, right? Yes. Two world championships and Olympics. Or three world championships. Three world championships?
No, actually, that one.
No, it was two. He got silver, gold, then all those years off.
And fifth, right? So Kale's got 3 world level tournaments to his name. He's got a silver, a fifth, and a gold. I'm just looking at that on paper. That's all I'm doing. I'm looking at that on paper. I look at John Smith on paper. I see 6 world level tournaments. I see 6 golds.
Okay, so you want paper. You want paper. That's what you want.
I guess,
That's
yeah. I guess.
All right.
I want that paper too. So if you're listening and you own a multinational company, you can sponsor our next podcast.
Well, that's my point. Is I would
paper.
rather. So what you're going off of making Kale the greatest American wrestler ever is what he could have done, correct? What he could have done if he would have wrestled.
What did he accomplish in the sport that is most popular in the United States, which is the main American style is folk style wrestling. So he was the most accomplished on paper of American wrestler. And then your argument for that was, well, he doesn't prove it against the best in the world. So he goes out there and he proves it against the best in the world in a different style that he's not as good at and wins that. So he proves that he can beat everybody in the world in a style that he's not the best at, and he dominated the style that he was best at the collegiate level. So because of that, I believe he's the greatest American wrestler.
All right, back to Aaron Pico, grandson of Pico de Gallo, Mexican president of the world. Okay, that's not true. But it all came back to Aaron Pico, and I think what the argument at the core of this is, would Aaron Pico be on a whole nother level of wrestling if he would have just done that the whole time? And I think yes, and then the argument the conversation we were having was, should he have done MMA, considering he's 4-3, he hasn't done as well as people thought he would, and then he may be making a comeback, but rumors are not for the United States.
Is he saying that, or where's that coming from?
I've heard
That
it on
came
podcasts
from
before.
a podcast that Jeff listened to that then he told me about right when we got here to set up for this podcast.
Nice.
So that's when I heard about it. So he's thinking about competing. The rumor is he's thinking about competing for Mexico and attempting to qualify for the Olympics.
Coach Rob, what do you think about United States wrestlers competing for other countries?
We did discuss this a
if they
little
live
bit.
and train in the United States.
I believe that it's wrong. You?
We did talk about this. Yeah, Keenan, we don't have your take on this.
Honestly, I don't know. I don't really have my thoughts very well sorted out on it. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, if you need to know our opinions on it, you can look back to the live stream we did of Ringer and Dake.
I mean,
Well,
I guess my initial knee-jerk reaction is I would prefer for them to try to make the United States world team. I wish that I want as many good wrestlers wrestling in the United States as possible to make our national team and our ladder as rich and robust as it can be, and just have and then just find the best guy out of that. So like perfect world scenario, that's what I would want. But I also just kind of feel like, man, I can't fault a guy if he feels like his best shot to compete in the world championships is
the Olympics. So that's where I think it makes a difference.
Yeah, his best shot to. I don't know. It's just like, I can't fault the guy if he feels like his best shot to compete in the Olympics is to go to another country. I don't know.
Because Olympics is a whole other thing than just the World Championships, and I think he's already chosen MMA, and that's pretty obvious. And this is probably like a thing that he would just train for a year and have the chance to make the Olympics, which would be so cool to experience. I do think because he's taking so much time off in wrestling, he maybe is not as confident in making our Olympic team, and especially because we're doing so well, to where I'm for it. I think he should do it. I would love to see him go compete for Mexico in the Olympics, because that's cool for him. He's gonna be Mexico's best guy, and he gets to go to the Olympics. And even if he doesn't do that well, he has that experience.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
If we had a wrestler on our team who got beat out for the varsity spot, would you believe that it would be okay for him to go to a different school and compete for a different school?
I do think that it is. I will say I mean, they can do whatever they want. So sure.
I know, I'm asking you.
Yeah.
I'm asking you.
But I actually think it's different than that, in the sense that the Olympics is not like going to state or something like that. I do think the Olympics is different than the World Championships. I do think that if Aaron Pico does this, it's a one-time thing. He knows he's done, and he's going back to MMA as soon as the Olympics are over. He probably just wants to go compete at the Olympics, which would be such a cool experience. To where I do think this is different than just switching teams, because it's not like he's going forward with. I would assume he's probably not going to continue his wrestling career after the Olympics. He's going to go back to MMA and try to make that his career. And so that's where I think it's more of if a kid's like, well, I can't make, it's going to be, I just want to go to state one time. I can't make our team. They go to another school and they compete for them and they get to go to the state tournament. Cool. Yeah, I'm happy for him. Sure.
For the vast majority of wrestlers, the state tournament is their Olympics.
Well,
Okay.
I'll say this.
And it could be, but the Olympics happens once every 4 years. And now technically you only get 4 years to go to state, but then I'm totally fine with it. If they can't make the team and and they're like, I want to get better competition than what our JV competition wrestles, and because I want a chance to maybe get a scholarship or something. Sure, like I don't want them to transfer, but if they do, I'm like, sure. I think we've seen this in college football a lot right now, where they enter the transfer portal, and maybe it's throughout all sports, but it's like people think like, oh, what happened to, fighting through something tough? And I'm like, there's like 131 Division I football programs. So that means there's 131 starting quarterbacks for a college, for a university. If you are behind Trevor Lawrence, sorry, you're not going to play. You're not even going to get the opportunity to showcase your skills. There was Josh Field, we're getting off the football a little bit, but Georgia quarterback transferred to Ohio State. The Ohio State quarterback transferred to, I don't remember where, but immediately the backup at Georgia is now better odds to win the Heisman than the guy who he couldn't beat out. Because now he's starting and he's in a different style program to where it's like he's going to get looks at the NFL. He's going to get way more looks at the NFL now. To where it's like, you can't totally fault guys on that, in my opinion.
Okay, first of all, you're getting off the football because you're a football nerd.
But that's
and you're anti-sport specialization, which doesn't make any sense.
I didn't say that. I said for big guys.
You're pro-sport specialization. Yeah,
well,
pro-sport specialization.
For small guys. Not for big guys.
This guy, man, talk about a guy that really just goes circular arguments and flip-flops.
How? I said for big guy. I'm pretty clear on that.
He sometimes doesn't know his argument, but
hey,
I do figure my arguments out as I speak a lot, but I will say this, pretty much flawless.
Hey, here's the deal, but I'm with you on this.
Okay.
Here's what I think. As you go up in levels of wrestling, or any sport really, the stakes become higher. So as you go from high school to college, the stakes become a little higher. As you go from college to professional, the stakes become a little higher. And what I mean by that is money, life, livelihood, amount of time spent, just all those different variables. And so I'm less okay with it, I feel like, at the lower levels. It's like, at high school, it doesn't sit real well with me because I feel like a big part of high school wrestling is the team community, and that's a big part of all wrestling, college wrestling, and even, regional training centers and all that. But, and a big part of a high school kid's experience is being in that school and building relationships with teachers. And again, that's all true for college. But as you go up, you get into college, then scholarships come into play. Money, more money comes into play. And but I am kind of with Drew. I mean, I've seen it in a couple different instances. There was a kid at our high school that transferred because he wasn't going to make the varsity team. And at first I remember being kind of like, oh man, that's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a bummer. It seems kind of weird to me. I just can't ever see myself transferring. And then it was like, oh, okay, one of his really big goals was to make it to state wrestling, and he did. He did make it to state wrestling, and he wasn't ever going to make the team. It was going into his senior year. He transferred before his senior year. And at the time I didn't feel great about it. Now looking back on it, I'm like, I don't know. I kind of sort of get it. Dan Dalamali, shout out, the Alaskan Kotzebue Bear. He transferred. Did he transfer, or did he just think about transferring?
He was a graduate.
He was a graduate, and then he went to a different school. Is that right?
A little bit different, but
it is different. You're right. That is different. He did. So then So how did it go? He went to graduate school, and then he went to a different school because he was behind.
Well, if you graduate, you get grad school. You can transfer, no sit out.
So it is a little. That does make it a little bit different. Although he could have done graduate school at UNK, probably. I guess I don't know. I don't know what program he was doing, but because he obviously had another year of eligibility. So, but he transferred because the best wrestler in the country, Tervel, and in the world was at his weight, or what we found out to be one of the best wrestlers in the world. So I don't know. And again, at the time, I remember thinking like, oh man, Dan, this is our team. Like, dude, come on, this is UNK wrestling. This is what we do, And I really didn't want him to transfer. But now looking back on it again, I'm like, okay, he wanted to get a shot to wrestle varsity. He never got that in his college career, and he wanted to have that opportunity. And I don't know. I'm kind of more on Drew's side on this, I think.
Okay, so it sounded like you said the stakes are higher, so you're more okay with it at the higher levels, but you were also okay with it at the high school level. And
Yeah,
college
like
level.
I'm. It doesn't
So
sit
you're-
as well, but
so
I'm.
you're really pro for it. You're totally cool with everybody because the
Well,
stakes are high.
I guess
because you
I guess the
gave
best.
us that.
I guess the best way to put it is, I don't like. I'm not crazy about it anytime, but I understand it more as you go.
Well, I don't think we don't want any of our kids to transfer or leave our school.
Yeah.
We want them all there. They're a part of the team. We love having them part of the team, and it legitimately, it does help, everything out. We're a better team because of the guys who aren't on varsity, but that's looking at it from our point of view, obviously. And to put yourself in their shoes, it's just, I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like, I see why this is. And they're like, oh, they're like, oh, I mean, I see. Again, it comes back to football, but the football analysts are just talking about this like crazy right now because it just keeps happening. And especially leading up to this first week, more people have transferred in the last few days because I think they can join the team and then they don't have to sit out next year if they leave now.
Yeah.
And so this week it's been heating up a lot, and I've been watching a lot on it. And they were just like, these guys have never dealt with any adversity, and I'm like, if you're behind Trevor Lawrence, you are not going to see any downs that mean anything. You're not going to play any competition that means anything. So it's like, and you're saying this to some of the best recruits in the nation. I'm just like, I totally get it. I'm like, yeah, go to a team that you can start, and then you can it's eventually even maybe go, compete against your old team and have a chance to win awards and get drafted and actually do what you went to college for. So
Jeff, I want to hear your rebuttal on.
I'm against, but I just think that there's a tremendous amount of lessons to be learned through not always being the winner. And whether that means being, the winning starter, right? And you have tons of talent and you're not able to showcase it. And that stinks, and I get that. But I believe that sports are a lot more than just being the winner. And I think there's tremendous value. I feel like all the transfers and all the this portal, I think there's some integrity of the sport that is diminished. Now, I wouldn't say in all cases is that not okay, right? I mean, I think there's definitely cases in which people need to be able to and have the option if they're in a harmful environment. But if they're in a productive environment where they're growing as an individual, then the dipping out on your team, I'm much less for that than, oh, well, you should go where you can have the winning championship and you can make the state tournament. There's lessons in being a good teammate instead of making the tournament. So that's my view on it. I think even more so at the higher level, and I think that's a great point. What Keenan said was the higher the stakes. I think that's very true. When you're seeing finances and you're seeing supporting your family, that definitely changes things of what's right, in my opinion. But for me I feel like it's a lie. If I'm an American and I train and I consider myself an American, and then I go and wrestle for a country that's not America, I feel like that's being dishonest to who I am.
And it's probably not. I mean, obviously, it's not ideal. It's not what they want, but you're not going to get the experience at all if for some people if they don't.
And
I think it's unique to each individual. It depends on how much,
for Aaron Pico, who has lived in the United States of America his entire life, for him to stand on top of the podium and have the Mexican anthem play seems a little bit dishonest.
And it might be for Aaron Pico. Like, I'm trying to think about it for Tervel. Let's just say, I don't know, like, all of and I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud here, but all of Tervel's family heritage, starting with his parents up until they were age, 30 or whatever, it's all Bulgarian. He doesn't.
Well, he was born in Bulgaria.
Yeah, he was born in Bulgaria. He lived there for a couple of years, and I feel like, I don't know, I guess I feel like he could stand on the medal stand in good conscience and be like, my heritage is Bulgarian. Like, The United States has made me the man that I am, and I appreciate that, and I want to honor that, but I also want to honor my heritage too. I don't know. I feel like, or maybe at least he would not just, I guess he would be able to stand on the medal stand and not be like super deeply conflicted or feel like he's betraying the United States simply because of the fact that he's got this deep heritage from Bulgaria. I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah,
but
Jeff, you don't understand that because you're English and we
I'll wrestle for England.
Yeah, no, we kicked their butt.
He's
and
Irish.
That's why we're a country, is because they suck.
I am Irish.
Yeah,
Rutledge.
and they're just drunk.
Rutledge.
They're just drunks. I've met them. All of them.
So I don't know. I mean,
Every
I'll say
single
this.
one.
I like your point about.
Yes.
I like your point about, in the team, like, obviously what we want, hopefully what we want out of sports ultimately is the things that sports gives us aside from the accolades and the titles and things. But like, that's what's interesting about it is in some respects, if a person wants to transfer or go to another country, you could almost say that, and maybe it's on them, maybe it's their fault, maybe they didn't do the right things, but you can in some respects say that for whatever reason, their country or their team failed to embed them as such a deep part of the community that they feel okay leaving it. Like, I guess the way I look at it,
the United States?
like the way that I look at it as a coach is if a kid transfers away from my school, and at the end of the day, I've got to evaluate every situation individually and decide whether or not I think, that you're going to evaluate every situation on an individual basis. But in some respects, I want to look at that like, what did I do to not embed this kid as a part of the community and make him feel like he is family and make him feel like he is a part of this family. Like, when I was a sophomore in college and I had gotten beat out for the team, both my freshman and sophomore years, and I had a guy who was a year younger than me that beat me out for the team who was then an All-American. I was kind of looking at it like, and I had close matches with him, but it's like, I don't know, maybe I never will make the team. And I did kind of have to have that come to Jesus talk with myself a little bit to be like, am I okay with that? And is that a huge goal of mine, is to make, in wrestling the NCAA championships? And at the end of the day, my friendships were too important to me to transfer, to think about transferring. I valued my friendships and the people that I was doing college with and doing life with in that moment more than I valued making a varsity team. And I feel like that's kind of what you're saying. But is that on me, or is that on the team, or is it both?
Well, I also see that as like,
Yeah.
like there's a difference between leaving UNK and going somewhere, because there's no place, like, you're literally leaving them and you're not going to see them anymore. Essentially, you're not going to see them for a long time.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're in high school, it's like, well, if they're my best friends, I can still see them because
Yeah.
we live in the same city.
Mm-hmm.
To where, like, when that comes to that situation, it's like, you're making that decision, like, I'm literally leaving all of my best friends.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I think that's a lot different than maybe a high school kid being like, well, I like that school's literally like, I already live halfway in between those two schools.
Let me go back on my point that I think might have been overlooked is I don't think transferring is wrong if you are in an environment that is not productive or conducive for you to learn and to grow and to be better. But if the focus is simply to win,
or just to get out from underneath somebody that's better than you, that you can't be.
Right.
Yeah.
If the environment that you're around is keeping you down, then you need to find a better place to be. And I think your point that doesn't really that works at the high school and the college level, but I don't think the United States of America is telling these guys, we don't really like you. You're not part of us. You're not really American enough, and so they're transferring and competing. They're transferring and competing for other countries strictly to win wrestling matches.
Well, to qualify.
To be able to compete at the World Championship.
Well, yeah, and it's like, you also don't have to train with the Mexican team. You don't have to live in Mexico. You can
that's my point of being dishonest.
Yeah, exactly. Well, But you can do the same thing.
walked
I think
into it.
I think of it the other way. I think of it the other way. It's like you're not leaving any of the same thing. You're just now I get to compete at the same tournaments. It's like if kids could compete or could work out at our school, but it's like, well, I'm not gonna make the varsity team, so I'm gonna compete for them, but I'm gonna work out with you guys. If that was for some reason possible, now that would never be able to happen, but. Then it's like, yeah, why? I think way more people would end up doing that. Now, I'm not saying that's totally right, but I also don't fault people that much for it. Like I would not fault Aaron Pico for wrestling for Mexico at the Olympics. At the Olympics, like Worlds, it's like okay, you can probably you're good enough to compete with our guys. But if it's just for 1 year, he just wants to make the Olympics. He's probably good enough to qualify the weight for the Mexico. And make the Mexican national team, to where it's probably.
What if he beats Zain Rutherford in the finals of the Olympics?
You tell me I can do anything. Oh, I would be upset that if he beat Zain, but I don't think he'll beat Zain or Yianni. Now,
well, he kicked the crap out of Zain before.
Yeah, I know he's never lost to him. But also, let me say this: if anyone was like, "Yo, come and compete for the Czech Republic, where my heritage is from," in ice dancing, I'm there in 2 seconds, and I will do it. Why? Because I just want to go to the Olympics, and I want to get that little pass, and I want to stay at Olympic Village, and I want to see LeBron James if he plays for the Olympic team. I don't know if he will or not.
Fair enough.
I think I am on board with your point a little bit that there could be an element of dishonesty there. When you
but who says being honest is the right thing? You know,
when you compete for another when you compete for a country that you don't. When you compete for a country that you don't live and train in, it's kind of like,
yes. So you're with me now. You're against Drew.
I feel very strongly both ways.
Right
there we go. All right.
We got to end this. This went over our 109. We were very consistently hitting 109.
But we're all right, though. You know what? Sometimes we got to let ourselves live a little.
Yeah. Hey, people. September 2nd, 2 p.m. Central Time. 2 p.m. Central Time. This guy and myself will be sitting in these chairs, and we will be doing a live commentary for Zain and Yianni, and it is going to be sick with it.
Over and out.